$619,000 and 477. So they $1.6 million overspent in 16-17. Now the good thing that helped that year, maybe to Mr. Barnett's, is that the revenue did come in higher. But the district was very lucky, the revenue came in higher by $727,000, where the fund balance hit that year would have been $1.6 million instead of $881,000.
Every year we got an audit. I thought we got clean audits every year.
Well, that's, so for me, doing research on the district coming in, I had access to an audit, right? I don't have access to the governance letter. That goes to the superintendent and to the board of trustees. So there's certain things that gets in the governance letter that does not go in the public audit. And so we've had the opportunity to have a conversation that there are some very specific things that previous administration and the board, it should have been directly pointed out. And it was pointed out to me this year in November, and then in October, 1st November, Mr. Vaughn sat down with Mr. Selby and I, this is after we already left. He sat down and he said, here, let me walk you through. And that's when he shared, we looked at data here, and then he talked about the 17-18 year, and there was $882,000, I think is what it was, in personnel. And I was like, okay, then of course Mr. Voss left and Donna started, and that's one thing she started attacking right away, is looking at this data. And so, I don't know, I can't figure out, looking at the stuff, and also remember, we've talked a lot about how, you know, Ms. Wares is trying to do budget and actually making sure that the money is allocated and appropriate in the right line item. And, you know, previously pots were put in certain places. There were just pots of money put, and what you all approved was, you know, basically, you know, 4 lines. And so, you know, and understand that's probably one of the concerns in the expansion merger is we couldn't just hit print on a report because some of the money was not existing in those lines. And so, so looking at, I mean, she hasn't talked about this yet, but you know, one of the other issues is that in June of 2017, there was, the parking lot was approved in that budget amendment. So the parking lot was, you know, approved, but the prior person in the finance department never booked that. So if you look at that $214,506.19, that was allocated in the prior year.
It means it should have been added to the deficit from 2017, 2018. Instead, we're taking it this year.
It never booked it. I'm not sure. What I know is that it came out of the audit, that expense.
The audit's caught that.
Correct. The audit caught that. There were 67 pages adjustments. We had 67 pages of adjustments. Correct. Then that was what we
Which
found
are
out.
basically what?
That's correction. Right?
Correction,
Correction.
exactly, yes, sir.
And that was what we found out in November from the audit. And so, so $214,000 would have been, should have been in the 17-18 with the parking lot, but it was not. And so we had to book that to, you know, I'm not saying that the $2 million is not glaring, but that $214,586, the board approved that in June of 2017, expecting it to be booked in 17-18 of the cycle, and it did not get booked. And then you take that and you compound the fact that you've got $882,000 in payroll costs from last year that we found out in November that was carried forward, you start looking at $964,000. That's where that comes in. And so historically, you look at, going back to at least 16, 17, and I go back to before that, but 16, 17 is the huge hit. In terms, if you look at that line item there, you'll see that it's